Okay. Hi. Okay. So today, I'm not gonna be on here long. Just wanted to touch base. When the divine is disconnecting you from things and people or circumstances, okay, I would encourage you to willingly let go. It's a big difference when the divine or God or the universe is disconnecting us from people and things or situations. Because sometimes we can be getting disconnected from these things or situations and people, and we struggle with letting go. And the reason why we struggle with letting go, because it's a codependency there. It's an attachment. It's the energy or vibration of neediness, of needing that person or that particular situation or thing to be in your life, because it can be whatever reasons you feel you have to be attached to it, okay? Now, I know a lot of times when people think of attachment, they think that's a good thing, but it's not. Because sometimes when you operate from an energy of attachment, it creates an energy of neediness, okay? But that's why a lot of times the divine will begin to disconnect us from people or relationships or circumstances or things, because what it is that the divine God, the universe, does not want us to be attached to anything. Because when we become attached to things, what happens is we put ourselves in a box, okay? And we are limited. And what happens is when we are limited, our container is so filled up where God and the universe and the divine can't even pour anything new and fresh in us, because we're so attached to something that no longer serves its purpose in our lives. And a lot of times we have to understand that if we're being disconnected from something or someone or something or a situation, it's because we need to be able to empty out our containers from that situation or that thing, because it's no longer serving us for a greater purpose. It's no longer going to be able to serve us and where we're going in our purpose and our destiny of where God and the universe and divine is taking us to, okay? So a lot of times we have to understand that if we're being disconnected from certain people or things, it's only because it's for our greater good. It's for our greater purpose of where we're going now, okay? But a lot of times with people, they're so gun-ho on just holding on to stuff and being attached. That's just like when people get in relationships, the women and the men are so attached where if they fear each other leaving, then they panic. And that's because they have too much an attachment, okay? And sometimes in society will make you think that attachment is good. But if you notice, pay attention, when you become attached to something, it seems like when something that you attach to, or let's say you attach to a person, right? And then that person begins to change and do stuff differently, right? And it makes you uncomfortable, right? But because you're so attached to that person or that situation, when it starts to change for you, you become fearful. You start to fear it. And then what happens is once you start to fear, you start to act out of your emotions through that fear. So that's why a lot of us don't understand that attachment is not good. That attachment is another form of codependency. You're codependent on a man or a woman, or you're codependent on your family, or you're codependent on circumstances or situations, but you're not internally able to understand that you have to first learn how to be dependent on your own self internally. You have to first learn how to be dependent upon God and the universe and the divine before you can even be able to be strong enough to help somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when the universe is trying to disconnect us from something or someone or a circumstance or situation, the first thing we will do is we will battle. And we will start to fear it and feel as though, no, I'm not ready to let go. I won't let it go. But understand that when you struggle with letting go of something that the divine told you to let go, when it's something that God keep putting in your spirit and telling you to let go, and you're struggling with letting go and you still won't let it go and you holding on for dear life, understand that you're only holding up your own process to your own purpose and destiny. You're not holding up anybody else. You're only holding up your own self. But when you can come to a place where you are willing to let go of something that you know God is putting in your spirit, something that you know the universe is disconnecting you from, something that you know the divine is taking from you or disconnecting you from, when you're willing to just say, you know what? Whatever it is I got to be disconnected from, I'm willing to let it go. I'm willing to let people go. I'm willing to let things and circumstances go. I'm willing to let it go in order for me to step into my purpose and my destiny, in order for me to be able to get an alignment within myself, in order for me to be able to get an alignment within God and the universe and the divine. See, and that's the thing. A lot of times we want to get an alignment with people and what we're attached to, but we're not willing to detach and disconnect in order to get into alignment within our own selves. So I just encourage everybody to understand that if the divine, if God or the universe is disconnecting you from people or situations or circumstances, understand that it's for your greater good. And understand that the reason why it's such a struggle for you to let it go, or for you to even fathom it not being in your life no more, is because it's a certain level of codependency. It's a certain level of attachment that you have grew to that. And understand, attachment is just the old mindset. Okay? Because even when we were little, you know what I'm saying, or when we're growing up, you know what I'm saying, society has taught us that attachment is what you should be. Codependent. But if you really get to the core of it, when you sit back and examine your own life, a lot of stuff that you was attached to, okay, the minute that it didn't look the way you wanted it to look, you started to fear it. You started to fear that everything was going to fall apart. You started to fear that that person wasn't going to love you no more. You started to fear that that friendship wasn't going to be right no more. You started to fear all of that. Why? Because you were so attached to the outcome. You were so codependent and attached to what the circumstance is or was. Where you didn't understand that you need to now take it off of a pedestal. And that's all the divine is doing. So when the divine disconnects you from a person or a relationship or a situation or a thing, understand that it's only because the divine does not want you to put those things on a pedestal. And I always look at Aaron Doughty and Eric Ho and a lot of other people, and they always say in their video, you know, when you come from a place of attachment, that's a needy energy. So when people are so attached to something, it's like a real, it's a needy energy where it's like, okay, I need. And if you notice, when you come from an energy of neediness, you actually repel people. You know what I'm saying? People don't want to deal with you because why? You're so attached and your energy is so needy. So that's all attachment is. It's an energy of neediness. That's all attachment is. It's another form of codependency. And codependency is another form of neediness. So when you can learn to just accept and willingly go with the flow of the divine disconnecting you from things and people, when you can go ahead and just willingly go with the flow of the divine knocking certain things and circumstances and people off the pedestal that you put them on and just willingly let them go, understand that your energy, your vibration, you're going to be in such a different alignment within yourself. And when I say you're going to really spiritually and be in alignment within yourself, and you're going to be in alignment with God and the universe and the divine, then I promise you're going to begin to step into your purpose. You're going to begin to know your destiny. God will begin to position you and line you up with different connections that you didn't even know you can be connected with. You know what I'm saying? You'll be able to finally step into writing that book you always wanted to write. And you'll be able to connect with the right people to publish it. You know what I'm saying? You'll be able to finally step into your creativity of doing your clothing line. And you'll be connected with the right people, divinely. Why? Because you were willing to let go and disconnect from the very things that the divine was disconnecting you from. The people, the circumstance, you were willing to let it go. So that's all I'm saying. It's a big difference with a willingness and with I'm not going to let it go, and I'm going to continue to hold on to this and struggle with it. And I'm not going to let it go. So understand that when you come from a place of willingness, instead of being forced into let it go, you better off. Okay? So whether you willingly let it go what the divine is telling you to let go of, whether it has to be forced and taken from you. Either way, it's going to be taken. But I just encourage you to understand that just be willing to let it go. Because when the divine has to forcefully take it from you, it's going to be so much more painful. It's going to be so much more hurt. Because why? The divine been telling you to let this person go. Let that relationship go. Let that family go. Let that friendship go. Let that circumstance or situation go. If you don't let it go, but you want to hold on to it, the divine will forcefully take it. How do I know this? Because I've been through it in my own experience time after time after time. So anything that I say to you guys, I say it from my own experience. Not from what I'm getting from other people, but I go by my own life experience of what I have endured and been through. And then to be where I am now. And that's why I can be on here. Because when you learn how to empty your container out, the divine will fill you back up. And the way you empty your container out is through willingness. Willingness means you being willing to let go. You being willing to go in the direction that God has taken you in. You being willing to say what's on your spirit to say. You're being willing to encourage somebody else that needs it. You being willing to push somebody else to the top. You being willing to celebrate other people. You being willing to humble yourself. You being willing to stay grounded. You being willing to get in alignment within yourself. You being willing to get in alignment within God and the universe and the divine. That's what willingness is. And when you can get to a place of willingness, then your progress and where you're going will be a lot smoother. It's not to say you won't have challenging moments, because you will, I promise you. But I promise you, through them challenging moments, it'll grow you. It'll be new growth. It'll be new wisdom, new understanding, new knowledge. It'll even grow you in a way where you'll begin to understand why you had to go through that challenge. That's all it is. I love you. Bye-bye.